Hey everybody, Hank Linderman here, coming to you from Falls of Rough, Kentucky. You're looking at a view that was on my walk yesterday, and it's just stunning. Um, I sent this to a few people, and one of them said heaven, and another one said stairway to heaven. So it's just a beautiful view. Hi there. And hey Dennis, how are you doing? I'm Hank Linderman. I'm running for Congress here in Kentucky's 2nd District. I'm the Democratic nominee. I ran also in 2018, and this time I don't have very fortunate, I don't have a primary opponent. But look at that view for just a moment. This is what Kentucky is all about right here. We see skies like that all the time. We see forests like that all the time, and we see water like that all the time. So it's just spectacular. Well, that's what the lake looked like yesterday. I'm going to show you what it looks like today. Um, if my iPad will come on. Let's see if it will. So that's what it looks like today. It's kind of gray, kind of cold. I'm going to look at my 60 degrees on. So I'm up here. I've got my America jacket on. Can you all see my America? My America jacket. And if you know me at all, you know that I've been involved in music for most of my life, and the band America are very close friends of mine, and in fact I think I can safely say I'm their favorite candidate for Congress, at least in Kentucky. So yeah, so I'm running for Congress here in the 2nd District. One of the first things I want to talk to you all about, especially those of you that are on Facebook, first of all, we're working on getting the videos shared on YouTube, because a lot of people don't like using Facebook. And so a great way to be able to see these would be on YouTube. So we're working on that. We're uploading all the videos now. So very soon you'll be able to send YouTube links to people. But whenever you come onto one of these and you're watching, hi Mary, glad you're here. Hey Mark. What you all can do is to share the live video, and I think that's called a watch party. You get the option to start a watch party. We have a young man who's working with the campaign named Billy McNichols, and he's going to make a little video for us that I'll show you all tomorrow. He'll show you how to do it. But give it a try. Try sharing this video while it's live, and it's called Starting a Watch Party. Oh, there it is. So if you look at the comments, you'll see Billy McNichol can show you how to do that. And that's going to up our numbers and spread things around and get our message a little bit further out, which is important moving forward. Well, let's get to it today. I'm not going to talk about a broad variety of things, only a few things, primarily around this idea of the Shock Doctrine. And if you don't know about the Shock Doctrine, it's fascinating. But first, let's look at the numbers. Remember, yesterday we saw a reduction in numbers. They're back up. Some of what's going on, and I think even President Trump is complaining about the way that the Center for Disease Control is collecting and counting numbers. He would like them to be lower, of course. We would like them to be accurate. Hi, Barbara. Good to see you. Glad you're here. So yesterday we are 1,552 new deaths, a tragedy, especially if they're one of your family members. 20,289 new cases. And we are inching towards, we're going to hit 100,000 deaths in the United States. 5 days, something like that, 5-6 days, so before the end of the month. And this is a national tragedy. The entire world is, 324,000 deaths, and we will be close to a third of them. And that's just appalling. But let's move on. Let's quickly look at... here's Kentucky from yesterday. In Kentucky, also, we had 20 new deaths. Again, not a good thing, and tragic for these families. And we are hearing, of course, in Warren County, they've got serious problems. We talked about that yesterday. I spoke to someone to Teresa in Warren County, and yes, Mary, I'm suggesting that you folks learn a new skill. It's no problem. You'll have fun. It's going to be great. Hi, Cheryl. From Huntington Beach. Wow, California. Anyway, Kentucky is seeing some increases now out in rural America, and Grayson County is having some difficulties too. That's where I'm at. I'm in Grayson County. Okay, so I had all my stuff in order, and this software I use moves it out of the order. So I'm going to have to guess at this. Let's stay on the subject of the disease. So here's something. The head of the CDC is Robert Redfield, and he's controversial because he headed an AIDS pandemic response and called on God to help with it. There was something else. I don't remember exactly. Carl B. Wilson, my brother. Michael, glad to see you here. Anyway, Robert Redfield, who was a controversial choice to lead the CDC, is in some hot water. So look for Trump to be blaming him for all of his failures. So that's where we're at with the disease right now. But I want to move on to this idea of the shock doctrine. And if you haven't heard of that, I guess here's one way to start. So this is a book from 2007 called The Shock Doctrine, and it's written by Naomi Klein. And if you don't know Naomi Klein, this is a formidable woman. She's a wonderful writer. She's very bright. She's sharp as can be. I was very fortunate to get to, when this book came out, I was very fortunate to go to a speech where she was presenting in West Los Angeles, and a crowded congregation, I believe it was a Jewish tabernacle. You couldn't get anywhere near her, and she held them in the palm of her hand while she talked about the idea of the shock doctrine. So let's see what the basic idea of the shock doctrine is, and here it is. The shock doctrine at the core is talking about disaster capitalism. At the core of disaster capitalism is the use of cataclysmic events, like maybe a coronavirus or a pandemic, to advance radical privatization combined with the privatization of the disaster response itself. By capitalizing on crises created by nature or war, Klein argues that the disaster capitalism complex now exists as a booming new economy. And it's the violent culmination of a radical economic project that's been incubating for 50 years. It kind of began with Milton Friedman and the Chicago School of Economics, but let's not get sidetracked. The basic idea of this is, as we've seen, especially under Republican administrations, we've seen privatization of our national response to disaster. And the biggest one that I remember was when Hurricane Katrina became handled by outside corporations. And that was when President Bush was in office. His vice president, Dick Cheney, had come from Halliburton. And guess who did a bunch of the work for cleaning up Katrina? It was Halliburton. Before that, I think it was Hurricane Andrew was the last time that FEMA, under Bill Clinton's administration, it was the last time that it had really been a federal response, that we had federal employees that were leading that response. And we, by all respects, handled that very well. And Katrina was a bit of a disaster, as you might recall. But the idea is that they don't want a crisis to go to waste, that when things are in crisis, you can make changes that would normally not be acceptable. So let's have a look. Here's something from Farhid Manjoo. And this was a story today in the New York Times. And he's being a little bit down because he's seeing that things are going to get a lot worse. They certainly have that possibility. Now, here's from the text from this very same article. Let's not squander another crisis. We need to take a long, hard look at all the ways the pandemic can push this little planet of ours to further ruin, and then work like crazy together to stave off the coming hell. Well, he's recognized that this idea of making the most out of a disaster can work two ways. You can use it when you've got a disaster, you can use it to, take over FEMA. But you could also use it to expand Social Security. You could also use it to finally push for Medicare for all, to push for higher wages for people who work, to push for affordable higher education, to get rid of predatory lenders, to finally begin to deal with the damage we've done to the climate so that we can keep this wonderful planet habitable for our children, our grandchildren, and so on. So in other words, even though this is a scary time, it is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us, if we don't waste this opportunity, to bring about some of the changes that we want. And we're going to have some unusual aids in this. So let me see who I can find here. Let's see. Here's J.P. Morgan. Let me find J.P. Morgan here. Oh, here we go. Investors are now going after J.P. Morgan Chase, and their investors are revolting over financing climate destruction. And you can read deeper into the story, and I suggest you do read it. This is at Common Dreams, which is a wonderful website if you're looking for progressives. So Chase is facing a lot of pressure from shareholders. Now, they could have come up with this on their own and known that it was the right thing to do, but when they start losing money because we choose not to invest with them or we object to their investment in fossil fuels, then that's going to make a difference. Now, the chair of J.P. Morgan Chase is, you know this name, Jamie Dimon. And so he has called for, this is from yesterday, calls for a more inclusive economy. This is Jamie Dimon, the head of J.P. Morgan Chase. Now, you know, considering where he's been with the very, very wealthy for quite some time, you want to hang on to your wallet as he's talking to you about this. But at least he's mouthing the words. And, you know, if he picks up the challenge and actually makes good on this, this could be very good news indeed. Here's some of the text from Jamie Dimon. The last few months have laid bare the reality that even before the pandemic hit, far too many people were living on the edge. Very, very true. So all of this is very, very good news. And I want to remind you all that it is good to find things to read during this time. And it's also good to keep your spirits up. You know, we talk about getting angry, and I talk about getting angry all the time. Colin Powell said, Colin Powell has 10 rules, and one of them is get mad and then get over it. Well, we don't want to quite get over it. We want to use our anger to build up our determination because we've got a lot to do. Now, I want to go back to the Shock Doctrine, and let me get back to my main page here just so I can look. In a sense, it may not matter who wins the presidency. Now, I am supporting Joe Biden because he's the Democratic nominee. And I've told you before, I supported Bernie Sanders. I contributed to Bernie Sanders. But I see Joe Biden making moves. He's recognizing that it's not going to be enough to talk about how terrible Trump is. And Trump is really terrible, and especially in terms of the way he's handled the pandemic. It's a disaster. And I mean, can you imagine a Democratic president allowing 100,000 people to die before June 1st? It's just unfathomable. But President Trump is calling it a success. Well, you know, he might serve you something that looks like chocolate pudding, but don't eat it, okay? Just a little bit of safety. Anyway, even if President Trump becomes president, I think that we're seeing that investors are recognizing that these crises we're dealing with will not respond to the way we've been handling them in the past. We're running out of options. And even a President Trump might have to come up with Medicare for all. He could at least say COVID care for all. So we are on the verge of great change. We're going through all of these tremendous stresses. There's stresses on our families, on our loved ones. You know, I spoke with a friend today who had a family member pass away in the last month and a half, and just terrible. However, I also spoke with a woman, and I'm going to go get some video of her, and she's just a wonderful human being. She's starting her 10th decade. She's 90 years old. And she said, well, I've been through hard times. I've got food on the table. I'm fine. But, you know, after these really hard times, I've seen them, you know, the Depression, World War II, I've seen all that stuff. But she said after the hard times comes really good things. And she said, I hope I'm around to see them. So let's all work on staying around to see the really good things that are coming and to work towards these really good things. As always, I need to let you know I need your help, and one way you can do that is by sharing this broadcast. Billy's given you some instructions, and Billy will also make a little video that I'll show you tomorrow about how to do this. You can make a contribution by going to the website, which is right in front of you there, hankforkentucky.com. There's directions there to make an Act Blue contribution, or you can mail a check. Checks are wonderful because they don't, Act Blue takes a little percentage, and good on them. Okay, they're not nonprofits, so it's not really a problem. You can also, if you want to be really fancy and with it and really impress your kids or grandchildren, is get a Venmo account and use Venmo to contribute. Your kids will be so impressed. Your grandkids will be so impressed. Well, that's about it for me. I'm going to show you this beautiful picture again, and that's maybe how we'll say goodbye. You know I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. It is really an honor and a privilege to be able to talk with you all and to have your all support. I can't tell you what it means to me. So we've got a lot of work to do, and November's coming sooner than you think. So thanks for being here. I love you. See you tomorrow. Bye.